Welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching us today. We are live in our Norwalk studio, and on our program today is George Fandos. He is the VP of Global Data Center at Westcon. George, how are you?
Great. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for being here.
Good.
So, your role at the company focuses on not only Westcon, but also ComStore.
That's right.
And I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about both companies.
Sure. So Westcon Group is a global distributor. We probably $3.5 billion this year, and we trade in over 70 countries, have offices in 25 or 30, and we've really grown through a lot of acquisitions. But we focus on very relatively large vendors around the world and take their products to market and enable our resellers. And one particular brand for us is ComStore, which is predominantly dedicated to Cisco or complementary products to Cisco. And so that's our largest brand, but we've also got Westcon Security and Westcon Convergence and Unified Communications.
So in terms of the data center market, and that seems like an area of specialization where your company is obviously doing very well and is a major player, how have you seen it evolve over the years?
Well, it's really evolved as a series of almost silos where you've got sort of networks, and you've got storage, and you've got servers, and as the world has moved to a more virtualized environment, these silos are converging, and it really it makes sense to think about them all holistically, and so it's dramatically changing the IT industry. Both end user and customer organizations have to begin to think about things differently. The way resellers take solutions to market and the way we support our resellers. We see three sort of main trends going on right now that we're very actively involved in. One is data center or server virtualization, which is a great opportunity financially to sort of compress the capital and the environmental cost by going from a large number of servers to a smaller number of servers. The second sort of major trend is a flattening of the network. And moving it from maybe 3 layers to something less. And then the third major area are cloud services. Each of those three are independent initiatives and trends that are going on, but they affect each other. As you virtualize, it puts more pressure on the network, and you need more manageability. As you offer a virtualization platform, it makes the cloud enabled that much faster.
So in terms of product-specific question, going to Cisco and the UCS product line, what's been your experience with that product line? It's a few years old now, right?
Right. Well, it's probably a year and a half. Yeah, maybe they announced it 2 years ago. So it's been really a fantastic launch. They entered a market that was heavily saturated with incumbent vendors and fighting it out, low margin business, and they've really brought in some new technology advantages that have really positioned them well in a leadership position. So the way they embrace the virtualization model, they've closely aligned with some of the virtualization software vendors so that it optimizes their hardware. They've looked at it from a networking point of view and moved it, it's actually in the network. It converges with the storage and with the network. From a cabling point of view, they've taken advantage of a fabric approach, and so the cabling is much quicker and much more efficient. And so there's a number of things, but they're able to go out now in large enterprises and even smaller enterprises now and differentiate how they go to market and how the total solution is going to lower the cost of operations and make it more manageable for the IT organization.
And one of the ways is that servers are set up more quickly?
Yes. They've kind of rethought, Cisco's engineers rethought the way, and I think it's a lot of what they learned in the networking world. They've rethought the way that server administrators do things. And so they're able to provision servers with UCS Manager in maybe 10 minutes, where in a previous world it could take 10, 12 days when you have to engage a storage administrator, a server administrator, a network administrator. Now it can all be done. Once you've set up the profiles, it can all be done in literally 10 minutes. So if a user department says, hey, I need some more capacity, some more compute, they can turn that on in a matter of minutes, whereas it took days before.
Now, how's your company differentiating itself from others in the market?
Well, we're a specialty distributor, so we focus on a narrower set of solutions that we think are really advanced technologies, some of the ones I mentioned. and so the way we differentiate ourselves maybe from the broad line is we don't have as many products, and we focus on enabling our resellers. It's really accelerating their time to cash and helping them either enter new markets or new verticals and get to profitability that much sooner. And we do that through programs that are training and certification, both technical and sales training oriented, market development. So how do they generate leads for new opportunities or build a pipeline that much faster? And then as well, as you get into some of these advanced technologies, the demonstration facilities that are required can be very expensive to not only start up and invest in, but to operate and run over the long term. So we've built some very customized types of programs that a number of our resellers take advantage of. As an example, for a lot of our resellers that have started maybe in a networking environment from a legacy point of view, as they move into the data center, their salespeople are not as comfortable selling to those people that make the server decisions, the storage decisions. So we try to build that confidence through training that says, what's this marketplace about? What are the trends? What are the challenges? What are the technologies? And then how do you start having a business conversation? Because in the data center, the pursuits are much more complex. They take longer. They have more components involved. And so it raises the visibility of this project to the CXO level. And so all of a sudden, it's not just buying X number of routers or switches. It's, we got to go spend $2 million. So what we've built is a program that allows them to learn about these trends and to be able to communicate at a business level. So we call this executive relevant selling, where they can have conversations with senior executives about what's going on in technology, how it impacts their business, and then gains their permission and their agreement to go out and understand what they're spending today and what they could spend in the future. So we enable them to do that. The second piece is there's an ROI tool that they gather this information, working with that end user organization, and then they take it back to their sponsor, their senior executive, and say, here's a base case, here's where you're going, and this is what it could look like. And so here are the differences. And then the third piece, which is important, once we've taught them how to do this and given them a tool, is we'll help them develop leads so they can go out and use those things that they've learned about very, very quickly.
This is really the evolution, isn't it, of the reseller space in going from selling just features and focusing on feature to how will this solution help my business become more productive? How will I get a return, and how will it make my business a more productive business, and why should I spend this big amount of money with you instead of now focusing on, okay, because I've got let's say the latest coprocessor or graphics chip or something like that. Now I take that set of solutions and I apply the ROI calculator, and I can show now that if you put this into your organization, you'll be able to produce your widgets, let's say 5% faster or 10% faster, or have less returns, or that sort of thing.
Right, right. That's absolutely right. We seek to, with our partners, help them engage in business conversations as opposed to product or feature conversations. Right. And so it's a more proactive kind of partnership that they seek to have with their end users and their business customers, as we do with them. So let's talk about where their business is, where they want to go, what are the gaps, and how can we help a reseller. And likewise, how can they learn more about their end users' businesses and help them and supply things that they can't do themselves.
Now, you've got a tremendous amount of relationships with resellers worldwide,
right,
and they rely on you for training and for education and for products. And we're moving into a world where the cloud is becoming so important in technology. How does your company help that same channel and maybe new resellers get their products out to market, or get those services out to market? And also, how do you help cloud providers get to the customers of the resellers that you have relationships with?
Right, good question. So from a cloud point of view, the value-added resellers are in this spot where they've traditionally sold on-premise equipment and on-premise solutions, and now all of a sudden there's this cloud option. And the customers say, well, can you deliver that via the cloud? And it becomes an economic burden, because do you have to go build your own cloud? If you sell cloud services, you're selling them on a monthly basis that creates an annuity, but you don't have those big transactions that you need to run your business. So what we're doing is taking advantage of our position as a distributor And so we seek to aggregate back-end services, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, and work with service providers, solution providers that can deliver those. And then we've got a transaction engine in the middle that takes those things and assembles them and delivers them either in a white label basis for a reseller to put on their own website. It takes the invoicing and the usage information. And so what we provide is the back office for the reseller, the transaction engine that delivers the content, and ultimately for the service providers, what we provide is access to our network, to our channel, if you will. So we're delivering on the channel, we're delivering on aggregated products which have global type discounts because we've got that kind of reach. And what it allows our VARs to do is to go sit down with their customers and say, tell me where you are on this cloud decision.
Right.
Right? Do you want to have everything on site and you own it and you manage it? Do you want everything in the cloud or do you want something in the middle? And they can participate in all three of those.
Now, and resellers also need to be aware that they are going to have potentially a big disruption in their business if they haven't seen it already, where they get a lot of customers that are going to pay them a smaller amount of money each month. And so over time, as they build more customers, it's very positive for them. But in the short term, they're going to have to deal with a disruption in the cash flow and the way that their business is operating, right? That's a challenge that they're facing. What do they do about that?
Well, I think what we're trying to help them do and work with them is the vast majority aren't going to build their own clouds because it's a big investment of dollars. So as we can provide some of that to them, they can participate. I think what they've got to do is begin to stay successful in the premise-based equipment as they do those big transactions, but begin selling the cloud services, even if it's a little bit at a time, to gain some traction. And hopefully, as I don't know that the premise equipment will drop, but it probably will at least slow the pace of growth, and the other one will catch up to it. And I think they've also got to begin to think about how they incent their salespeople differently, how they compensate them. So it's a restructuring of the industry. But we feel like we're well positioned with our channel network to really keep them fed and supply the end user with what they need.
Well, it sounds like you also can give them guidance because you're dealing with so many resellers in so many different spaces with different expertise, whether they have voice expertise or data expertise or storage expertise, and you're able to probably bring best practices to the market, to the resellers that have questions.
Right, absolutely. We try to sit down and engage with each of our resellers and understand where they want to go. Which technology market are they going to be in, as you just mentioned, voice or data center or networking centric. What's their go-to-market plan? How can we supplement them and help them either through market development programs, training programs, or in fact, as they're especially in premise-based equipment or even cloud, as they get into more of the advanced technologies, the demonstration facilities can be very expensive. We've invested very heavily over the last year in a program we call the LEAP Center. And these are customized executive briefing centers and demo centers that we've built, one in Denver, one in Brussels. We'll add some more around the rest of the world, that really help our partners become enabled on the technology, get very hands-on, and be able to use that to either bring end users into or demonstrate to them remotely.
Right.
LEAP is an acronym: Learn, Experience, Architect, and Plan. And the most important letter there is experience. Anytime you're dealing with new technologies, you can make a business case for it, which we just talked about with our executive relevance selling. But unless the engineers and the architects embrace it and see the path of how they're going to really deploy that, it's going to be hard to get done. And so when they come in, either remotely or on site physically, they get a chance to play with that and touch that technology and become more comfortable with it.
It's very exciting.
It is.
Well, you're right about just being able to touch something before you buy it. It's like reading about a car, for example, in a car magazine, as opposed to actually seeing it. And it's a little bit different, obviously, with a router or a server. It's not as exciting as maybe a sports car would be.
I don't know. The first Cisco data center I visited that had some of their new UCS servers in there, I was with one of our engineers, and he got around to the back of it and saw how it was cabled, and he said, he actually almost trembled because he was so excited to see it, because he said, I've read so much about it, but I've never really seen one or touched one. So some of these engineers can get really pretty excited.
I could see that. Okay, well, so then I'm going to retract that statement. Very interesting. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing one of those centers. Maybe you'll build one on the East Coast.
Sure, or come out and visit us, maybe do a little skiing.
Yeah, actually I may be in Denver this summer, so I appreciate the the chance to potentially get out there. And thanks for being on the program today.
Great,
It's great to see
fantastic.
you.
Thank you.